name's Awande Zwane. This is a Christian YouTube channel. And it's called If I Start to Talk. The story behind that, but we get to it. And this is actually me finally obeying God. This is an act of obedience. It's an act of surrender. It's a yes to God. It's agreement with heaven. Because I've actually gotten, I'll call it the instruction. The instruction to start this channel around about November or December last year, right? But maybe me, I was just like, wait, God, who said that? God, is that you? Because it just didn't really seem to make sense to me. My plans just for my life were totally different. Had nothing to do with YouTube. But God had been telling me to put myself out there a little bit more, and this was the platform that He had pretty much highlighted for me to do so, to put myself out. But it didn't make sense to me. I felt as though like if it had come from God, God would like tell me more. He'd say, you know, do this, do that. But He just gave a simple instruction: start a YouTube channel. So anyway, I agreed, but I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't even give it any sort of like urgency. But in all this time, there were like little confirmations from God that I had actually heard Him, and this is something that He wants me to do. So it would be like confirmations from just like YouTube videos that I'd watch at the exact right time, like conversations with friends that would confirm things that I was speaking to God, but also just like bigger things like the camera that I'm using and this microphone as well were gifted to me. Like the story of the microphone is actually just like, it's crazy to me, because I remember I had like somebody had said something about obedience, and I prayed to God. I was like, God, do you want me to do the YouTube channel? Give me confirmation. This is probably about the third or fourth time I'd asked for that. And that same week, about the day after, mail that had been stuck at the post office for a long time was ready for collection, right? So my friend in the UK, shout out Shona, she told me that she was going to get me a gift, but she didn't say what. It's a surprise, right? This was in January 2021, okay? But she didn't tell me what it is. And I only got it in April. It wasn't even March, it was April that it finally arrived at my mail here in Johannesburg. I fetched it the day after I asked God for confirmation about this channel, and lo and behold, the surprise was a microphone, a condenser mic. And I was just like, okay, fine, God, like no more confirmations needed. I hear you. That was April. It is July, and I'm only now posting my first video. So again, I did stall on it because this time around, perfectionism. I was like, oh my God, I need this set, this, that, da 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 da. And again, I missed another 2 months, another 6 weeks of obeying God and doing what He said. But there has just been this urgency in my spirit these last few days actually, where I just feel as though everything, not just this, but everything that God has told me to do, I have to actually at the very least get it started now or complete it, because there's some things that I've just left hanging. Thanks. So if you're watching this now, the time that I'm recording this is about the 16th of July 2021, okay? If you happen to catch this video now, or in fact whenever you catch it, take it as confirmation from God to do the thing that He told you to do. A lot of us have been given an instruction from God, we've been given a directive from God, we've been given an idea by God, but we've doubted it, or we've been too fearful to do it, or we've let perfectionism get in the way, or we've let fear get in the way. But if you are watching this, let it come for your neck, let it grab you by the throat and toss you around by your edges, and do it. At the end of this video, whatever God has called you to do, do it. And you know, sometimes we do tend to like pretend that we don't know what God said. Like, God, I don't know. I just feel so stuck in my life, and like, you're not saying anything. And girl, you know what he said. You just do what he said. You just want the instruction to change, and it won't. God is a man of his word, and he keeps his word to you, and he keeps his word to himself. And if his word was do XYZ, nothing's changing in your life until you do XYZ. So if you're watching this now, please guys, this is the time to obey. It's a time to obey. And I know, because right now I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa. That's where I live, that's where I'm from, and it's just crazy at the moment. It is such a mad time. We're currently going through just a situation of businesses being looted, like seriously, like just being looted, violent protests, the economy is at an all-time low. We have just had our lockdown extended, increased and extended to level 4 and all of that, and when you look around, it just doesn't seem like a good time. Whatever God has told you to do, when you look around, it just doesn't look like the economy is right. It doesn't look like the politics are right. It doesn't look like your emotions and your mental state, your finances are right. But there's never a right time in the natural, but it's always the right time with God, especially when he has given you something to do. He knows what he's doing. And I know I know somebody is here watching and they're like me, in that for me, I'm not a ride or die. Hey, I want to know what's happening. I want to know the full plan. I need the blueprint, directions, GPS coordinates. I want to know the exit, emergency exit. I want to know how will I get back home. I want to know who all is coming, right? Before I do anything, right? I'm gonna need, this phone. I'm gonna need everything. I need to know everything, right? And I think that is a bit of a fear, that is a bit of a control thing. But the thing about God is that's not how he rolls. The thing about God, he does not play that. If God says, okay, so when I say run, we run. You're not asking for direction, you're not asking for clarity, you run. And it's frustrating, but at the same time, it's such a good lesson on how to be led by God, especially if you have actually told God that you want his plan for your life, not your own plans, not your mother's plan, not your professor's plan, your own plan, his own plan for your life. And it comes with then actually having to submit yourself to that plan and surrendering a lot of things, including what you had thought about your life, surrendering what you thought about yourself, surrendering friendships and relationships as well, is really what it takes to live out God's purpose for your life. But it's always worth it. It just sucks that at the beginning he doesn't tell you anything. You're just walking blindly. And it actually reminds me of when I was in grade 7. Walking with God actually reminds me of when I was in grade 7 and we went to prefect camp. I was like, girl. And when we were there, they gave us an activity where the head boy and the head girl would lead a group, right? So the girls would be led by the head girl and the boys would be led by the head boy. And we were all blindfolded, right? We didn't know where we were. We didn't know where we were going. We did not know the terrain. We were just not orientated. orientated to the place and to the environment, right? But we were blindfolded, and the only people that could see was the head boy and the head girl, and they would then have to lead us, and they'd have to give instructions, send instructions to those behind them, and tell us, hey, okay, turn left, okay, make sure you jump, there's a puddle, just bend a little bit lower, there's a low hanging branch, right? So everything that we did, we didn't know, but we had to trust and rely fully on those who were ahead of us and who could see what we couldn't. And if that is not an illustration of doing life with God, because just the word itself says that God is a lamp unto my feet. And really, to summarize that, is just that the only steps that will be lit up are the ones that you take. If you don't take a step, you will never know the way. If you don't take a step, your way will never be lit up. The only thing that will be lit up is the place you're at and where you're stagnant. So when it comes to God, we need to ride or die. You either ride with God or you die in your place of stagnancy. You know, it sucks, but it's the truth. You know, so if you're watching this, please guys, take it as your call to action to do that thing. And a lot of the time it's a small step, it's a small thing that God is doing. I think sometimes we want God to tell us to demolish a building, then we'll believe that it was God. Sometimes we want God to tell us to do something impossible, then we're like, then we'll know it's God. But if it's a simple instruction, sometimes we doubt that it's God. And it's like, girl, how's God gonna trust you with the big things if he doesn't know if you'll listen fully to the little things? So obey. He knows where he's sending you. He knows the plans that he has for you. And the good thing about God is that you always know whatever you wanted, whatever you thought you wanted when you started out, the thing that you get on the other side of obedience is so much bigger. It's exceedingly and abundantly more than you can ask, think, imagine, whatever. You know, honestly, the word speaks for itself. So, you know, I know in South Africa right now, like I was saying, it's crazy times, it's mad times. But one thing that I have learned in my young walk with God, and the little that I know about the spiritual aspect of everything, is that when you begin to see physical expressions or manifestations of chaos and disorder and just craziness, when you start to see that in the physical, a lot of the time spiritually it's a time of much activity, right? It means there's a lot happening in the spirit as well, and that's the time to lay hold and lay claim of what belongs to you. So that's the time to pray, that's the time to press in, that's the time to hear from God, that's the time to spend more time with him and get your next instruction. A lot of us are in a time of breakthrough. A lot of us are in a transition period. So when you start to see things go crazy, when things are starting to look like they're not on your side, pray, press in, because that is the time when in the spirit things are moving. And if you'd like to, you can say it's a new order. It's transfer of wealth. It's transfer of regime, if you want, even in the spirit, that will manifest itself obviously also in our lives in different ways. So now really that is why I feel like I'm not prophetic, but Holy Spirit still speaks to me anyway. So that is why in time like this, there's just an urgency to do the things that God has done. And God is so good and he's so graceful that he will allow us, that our humanity to doubt, our humanity to want to control the situation, our humanity to be scared. But the thing that you have to remember is his grace to allow us, our humanity has a cutoff point where we then have to allow God to be God, and for his strength to take the place where ours fails, right? So at this time right now, yes, God is graceful, but eventually things need to get done, right? So you can't be like forever holding off. on the thing that God is asking you to do, because He's graceful. You can't drag your feet on doing what God has called because He's graceful, right? Because remember that we're not on your timeline and God's not on your timeline, and that He blesses us through other people. I think sometimes when you think of God's blessing, we think of like abracadabra, magic things that God just like does magic, and all of a sudden now your career is booming, your business is doing great, you've got customers, and you're married, and whatever the things that you're asking for, right? You've got breakthrough in your family and everything. No, it's not a magic trick. God blesses us through people and circumstances and whatnot. And the thing that you have to remember in the importance of obeying God's instruction when He gives it is that there are other people's steps that have been ordered in order for you to be blessed. And your steps have been ordered in order to bless somebody. And what you have to think about it as sometimes is that the ordered steps of somebody else and your breakthrough will intersect. Your ordered steps and the breakthrough of somebody else will intersect. And that's why when God gives a now instruction or any instruction, to do it at the time that He says, so that when you are at the intersection of somebody else's ordered steps and when you're at the intersection of somebody else's breakthrough, everybody meets and everybody is blessed, everybody gets their breakthrough, and whatnot. So that is also another thing that is so urgent about obeying God, is that it's not just about you and it's not a magic trick. That there are aspects of our natural life and the natural order that also need to happen in order for us to be blessed and for others to be blessed through us. And we won't know this unless we obey God, because it's God who oversees everything. It's God who says, okay, now you go there, do that, because He knows the chain of events that will be released and what that will culminate into, and what that will, I don't want to say the word manifest, but what that will manifest into. Like, oh, guys, manifestation is yeah. So, with all of that said, guys, like I said, remember I said like I was supposed to like do this in December already. Like I was supposed to do December already, right? So that was about like 31 weeks ago. So it's 31 weeks of disobedience. So I have decided that I'm gonna catch up. I'm gonna play catch up. So in order to catch up with the 31 weeks of not obeying God, because now I've lost the luxury to take my time, I am going to record a video a day for 31 days to catch up. Now this isn't anything that's like biblically, scripturally. Things look a little bit different. It's because my camera stopped recording whilst I was talking. I'm just going to carry off where I left off. And so I was saying that because of my 31 weeks of disobedience and my 31 weeks of not listening to God, I have actually committed myself to recording a video a day for 31 days. It's not a punishment. It's not anything based on any scripture or anything. That's like just for myself, because I feel as though all of the time that I missed to really learn how to work it on this platform and how to like find my feet on here, I think I might actually have to actually have to work harder in order to get those lessons that I missed like 31 weeks ago. But yeah, experience is the best teacher. So and the thing about it also is just that like I know that God is sovereign, and that in His sovereignty, God can absolutely accelerate me and catapult me to the exact place that I should be at now, had I obeyed Him in December, right? Like He can get whoever a message was meant to go to in December, God will bring it to them at this point. However many views that I would have had on the 31st of July, God can give them to me in like three videos. However many subscribers that I would have had at this point had I obeyed God and put in all the work that time, God can give them to me after the upload of this or the third or the fifth video, right? Because God is so sovereign. He's like that. He's outside of time and space. However, another thing about God's sovereignty is that in his sovereignty, God can allow for the natural order and natural progression and our own natural systems to play out. So, I mean, God, if you want to just fast forward there, you can always do that. But yeah, this is something that I want to do. Hopefully, I think it helps us get to know each other. So, I'll be dropping one video a day for 31 days. Me and you, about to get to know each other. So you know the song, like, share, subscribe, and bring a friend. And I will see you guys tomorrow and the day after that, and the day that follows that one, and the day right after that, and then the next day after that, and then the week after that, and the week that follows that. For the next 31 days, guys, we're gonna learn, we're gonna grow, we're gonna do so much on this channel. So stick around. Thanks, guys. I'll see you. 31 days, 31 videos. Yay.